It was an extraordinary claim.
We got another Manchurian, Captain.
I didn't hear it.
Labor erupted during question time when the Prime Minister accused the Leader of the Opposition and his deputy of being puppets of an enemy power.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And for a sign of how dirty this coming election is likely to be, it would be hard to beat the PM's jibe that Labor's deputy leader is a secret communist agent who's been brainwashed by China. So, what evidence did the Prime Minister have that Albo and his offsider are sleepers for Beijing?
The government cited an article in the Communist Party's mouthpiece, The Global Times, backing a Labor victory as proof of its claims.
Damage done, the PM withdrew his Manchurian candidate slur, but the coalition's broader claim that Beijing wants a Labour win had already found support in the morning's News Corp papers.
Albo has kick from Beijing.
Beijing backs Albo.
Hey Albo, me old China. The federal election has not even been called, but Chinese propaganda mouthpiece, The Global Times, knows who it is endorsing.
And helping to amplify the scare campaign about Reds under the bed was the Australian's front page.
Beijing backs Albanese for PM. The Chinese Communist Party is promoting an article praising Mr Albanese as a safe leader, saying he positively shines compared to Morrison.
And who wrote that article? A cowed Chinese editor? A Communist Party apparatchik? Nope. A former Australian diplomat, Bruce Haig, who was pushing for a reset in relations between Australia and our #1 trading partner, calling Defence Minister Peter Dutton rabidly anti-China, accusing the Murdoch-dominated media of being anti-China, but also offering up more brickbats than bouquets for the Labor leader.
Albanese is a cautious person and politician. He is not an intellectual. He has demonstrated a propensity to believe the US view of the world without analysis.
So, a bland bloke with no spark in thrall to the US, and hardly China's man at all.
He is not a lateral thinker. He is not creative. He will not be a charismatic leader.
But on Sky After Dark, the government's charge that Albo was China's pick was on high rotation.
To say that's not a good look, well, that'd be an understatement.
What the Global Times has done in advocating for an Albanese government to run Australia and be China's friend again could have changed the trajectory of the outcome of this election. This is red hot.
I think Australians are quite rightly wary of any political party that cozies up to them.
The propaganda outfit of China is saying, bring on Albo.
Also, ferreting out evidence of Albo's China connections, with a little bit of help from the coalition, was news.com.au, which had this red-handed expose by Samantha Maiden.
Exclusive.
Labor leader Anthony Albanese was the guest of honour and seated next to Chinese billionaire Dr Chow Chak-wing's daughter, Winky Chow, at a gala event the Prime Minister declined to attend in 2020.
And how do we know the PM declined to attend? Well, Sam Maiden was upfront about that.
Government sources who are trying to elevate the issue of China's influence in the Labor Party ahead of the election briefed journalists last night that the Prime Minister had declined the invitation on the basis of national security advice.
To her credit, Samantha Maiden then scanned footage of the gala event to reveal, shock horror, that former Liberal leader Brendan Nelson was also in attendance. And she dug up a picture of former Liberal Defence Minister Christopher Pyne chatting with the Chinese billionaire in 2015. Which just goes to show, if you're outing supposed Chinese sympathisers, you can find them on both sides of politics. So, did everyone in the media buy into the Manchurian candidate scare? Thankfully not. On the ABC's Q&A, the Australian's foreign editor, Greg Sheridan, called out the PM's slur in no uncertain terms.
I am very critical of Scott Morrison for uttering the words Manchurian candidate. They were absolutely wrong. He said them about Richard Marles. Richard Marles is a patriotic Australian. He doesn't serve any national interest other than Australia's. Generally, this week, I think the government has substantially overdone its China rhetoric.
And 24 hours earlier, his News Corp colleague Andrew Bolt was similarly scathing.
I'm here to tell you the truth, and the truth is that the Prime Minister is now going too far in painting Labor leader Anthony Albanese and his deputy Richard Marles as almost traitors, as China's pets. I think this is trivialising the argument.
Also attacking the government's scare campaign was a man with impeccable defence credentials. Dennis Richardson is a former ASIO boss, Defence Department Secretary and Ambassador to Washington, who told Sky News,
I know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But it is grubby beyond belief.
Grubby it may be, but it may still be effective. As Michelle Grattan wrote in The Conversation, the government
has gambled that in our fast-moving media cycle, it can get away with extraordinary claims, helped by sections of the media.
And as David Crowe pointed out in the Nine papers, at one level, it had already achieved its purpose.
Morrison has everyone talking about Labor and China, and that is the point. Scare campaigns are ugly, but scare campaigns work. Just ask John Howard, who ran hard on border security in 2001.
No doubt we'll see more scares and smears as the election approaches. Let's hope the media keep calling them out. And let's hope they also shine a light on the dishonesty of all politicians who use these tactics. But now, to the perils of investing and buying the dreams that are sold in the media. Adore Beauty is an online retailer started by Kate Morris and her husband James Height in a Melbourne garage more than 20 years ago. It is a great Aussie success story, which has made the pair more than $100 million richer. And the Australian Financial Review has been one of its biggest fans.
No flies on sexy Adore Beauty, rapid IPO planned.
In late 2020, when shares in Adore were first offered to the public at $6.75 a pop, the Fin told readers excitedly that it was
the hottest new listing since Tyro payments.
And that the company was
blessed with what small cap fundies are after: growth, a COVID-19 tailwind, strong customer retention and relationships, and sex appeal.
A host of small investors duly parted with their money, almost all of which went to the founders and a private equity firm called Quadrant. But since then, it's been downhill all the way, at least for Adore's share price, which closed today at around $2.30, meaning those who bought in October 2020 have lost 2/3 of their money. So, who are the losers? Earlier this month, in a scathing column in the AFR, Joe Aston recalled Kate Morris announcing at the time of the float, in a now deleted tweet,
one of the most exciting and wonderful things about the Adore Beauty IPO is the number of women who have reached out to me wanting to buy shares for the first time. They're getting their broker accounts set up and learning how to make trades. Bloody love it.
Joe Aston's column also took aim at the company's glamorous high-tech image, describing the business witheringly as
a licensed reseller of someone else's designer body wash, dressed up as a tech stock and sprinkled with chick power.
But most of all, he attacked the marketing hype that surrounded Adore's share sale, commenting,
the orgy of gendered PR attached to this float was the most risible part of the entire shakedown.
It was scorching stuff. But what Aston didn't make clear was that the AFR has been one of the noisiest promoters of the company and its founder. Here's one from way back in 2016, when it was already telling her rags to riches tale.
Adore Beauty's Kate Morris founded a $16 million business on cosmetics and code.
The following year, the Fin was getting Morris to tell the tale as well.
Why Adore Beauty's Kate Morris is glad she was fired.
And in 2018, it was putting Morris on its young, rich list and telling the story all over again.
Age 21, she borrowed $12,000 from the parents of her boyfriend, James Height, now her husband, and set up an online beauty store from her garage. Almost 2 decades later, Adore Beauty sells more than 200 brands from Aesop to Yves Saint Laurent.
More positive PR followed in 2019, and in 2020 the paper ran this breathless profile by Susan Owens in AFR's Life and Luxury.
I meet Morris at Adore's head office while most of the staff are still working from home. As we walk down a darkened hallway bordered by sleek, empty offices, I catch the glint of a serious watch. It's Apple, she says, lowering her pale blue eyes to her wrist.
But it wasn't just the Fin's adoring prose, it was also its suggestion that the company was special and seriously valuable, like in this comparison with a $6 billion brand.
Is she the Net-a-Porter of beauty?
The Fin asked eagerly, before quoting Morris's response,
no, we're not. Adore is more accessible.
And then in the run-up to the share sale came more specific endorsements of the company's value. In July 2020, breaking news that a public offering was planned, the AFR's Street Talk suggested Adore would be valued at $500 million. 6 days later, it ran another story suggesting the valuation had risen to $600 million plus. Yet only 10 months earlier, as Susan Owens' profile had revealed, a sale of shares in Adore to Quadrant, the private equity firm steering the float, had valued the company at a mere $110 million. Now surely that should have sounded the alarm for investors and for journalists at the Fin. But Street Talk seemed to think the higher price tag made sense, observing,
its valuation is said to have rocketed given the structural changes in the retail sector due to the pandemic.
Over the next 2 months, the AFR published 3 more puff pieces, which reported Morris as saying that sales were spiking, momentum was building, Adore had never been busier, and there was big growth across all demographics, although each also admitted that Morris declined to give figures or put a percentage figure on the gains. Understandably, with all this good PR pushing it along, the sale of shares in October 2020 was a resounding success. Unless, of course, you were a buyer, in which case you were soon crying all the way to the bank. Now, don't get me wrong, Adore Beauty is a decent business. Its sales are growing, although it missed market forecasts, and no one has told any lies. But was there enough scepticism and critical analysis from journalists in looking at Adore and in asking if this lofty price tag was justified? In my opinion, the answer is no. However, one voice in the Fin, not Joe Aston, did raise a red flag. Ahead of the float, Tom Richardson drew attention to the eyebrow-raising valuation and the fact that insiders were selling more than $200 million worth of shares. And if you were lucky enough to read that piece instead of all the others, you would have been a lot more cautious about being a buyer of the shares and parting with your money. So, what does AFR Editor-in-Chief Michael Stutchbury have to say? He told MediaWatch,
the Financial Review's coverage that you outline was not part of any orgy of gendered PR. These stories were not promoting the success of Adore Beauty, as you put it.
We'll let you be the judge, and you can read his full response on our website. But now, to 2GB's Ray Hadley and the T-shirt scandal that left him red-faced.
On the front of the T-shirt, it says need a lift. On the back of the T-shirt, and I have the photo of the back of the T-shirt in front of me, RIP Ivan Milat.
Yes, you heard right. A T-shirt celebrating Australia's notorious backpacker killer, Ivan Milat. And Ray, whose program is simulcast across New South Wales and Queensland, was naturally fuming.
It's just so offensive, it's incredible. It's almost too fanciful to be true. You think, well, it's got to be an urban myth given the stature of the retailer selling it.
And who was the retailer? Well, as with all things on Ray's show, good things come to those who keep listening. And half an hour later, we got the answer.
First of all, we phoned Kmart head office. We got fobbed off. We'll now contact the parent company, Wesfarmers, and ask them for a reaction.
Yep, it's Kmart, folks, and Ray was determined to bring them to heel.
He killed 7 backpackers, this murderous bastard. And Kmart is profiting from that sort of drama?
So outrageous was this story, it was soon making news on Melbourne's 3AW and Adelaide's 5AA. And Ray was encouraging TV news crews to jump in as well.
Now, again, this might liven Kmart up because all of a sudden Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10 might be ducking out to Kmart Windsor to try and get some footage of this bad taste T-shirt.
And if TV newsrooms were likely to be keen to share Ray's rage, surely Sydney's Tabloid would be too.
I've spoken to Ben English, the editor of the Daily Telegraph, during the news break. He couldn't quite believe what I was telling. I said, Ben, it's 100% correct. So I think you'll find the Daily Telegraph will be up Kmart like a rat up a drain pipe tomorrow as well.
Like a rat up a drain pipe. Except next day, there was no rat, no drain pipe and no coverage in the telly or anywhere else. Because there was no real evidence that the claim was true. There was no receipt for the purchase, no interview with the purchaser and no admission from the store. All Ray had was a photo that had been sent to him, which had no visible link to Kmart, no label, no location and no Kmart signage in the background. And Kmart assures MediaWatch it told Ray the story was wrong.
Kmart has not designed or sold the offensive T-shirt in question. We were disappointed that 2GB continued the discussion on air even after they were informed that the product in question was not a Kmart product.
We asked 2GB if Ray Hadley accepted he'd got it wrong, but the station declined to comment. And finally, to live TV and how it can all go horribly wrong.
Nell Campbell tap danced her way from Sydney to stardom in the cult classic The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Nell Campbell, or Little Nell as she's affectionately known, made her name as the tap dancing Columbia in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And 10 days ago on Studio 10, Angela Bishop and Nell were reminiscing about the good old days.
How did you come to be in it? Where were you discovered?
Oh, Treasure, do I have to tell you again? I slept with the director. Come on, guys. Darling, how did you get your job? Come on, let's be friends.
Bishop carefully tap danced her way out of that faux pas, but soon landed in another.
So many wonderful movies have been remade in recent years. Would you ever want to see Rocky Horror remade?
It has been remade. Oh, darling, who's your researcher?
Oh, my goodness.
Treasure. Heads will roll.
They will.
Heads will roll.
But unfortunately for Angela, the worst was yet to come. In true showbiz fashion, Nell Campbell saved her best for a show-stopping finale.
Why the hell you're wearing those shoes, I don't know. Ladies, I would like to make an announcement to all women in all countries in the world. Stop it. You don't need to wear follow me home and fuck me shoes, OK? I mean...
Nell, we are live on air. We're going to have to... we can't even bleep. We're going to have to stop it there. Studio 10, we'll be right back.
Whoops. There was no sign of Nell after the break, and we reckon she won't be back on Studio 10 for some time. That's all from us tonight. There's more on our website where you can stream or download the programme, including a statement from AFR editor Michael Stuchbury. And don't forget Media Bites every Thursday. But for now, until next week, goodbye.